Welcome to Dakota Housing Network. I'm your host, Greg Larson, along with my co-host,
Dave Floor,
and our engineer and MSB, Jim Walsh.
More of the same something.
isn't this great?
Yeah.
It is.
We're all here. It's great.
And
Yeah.
Joe Sheehan is off somewhere in the mortgage mobile, but somewhere between Fargo and Sioux Falls, I guess.
He's still looking for those low rates. In
He
South
may be
Dakota.
checking in.
I thought he was jackrabbit hunting.
But you
Or
know where you
storm
find
chasing.
the lowest rates, though?
You know where you find... Hey, you guys
North
just had a
Dakota
big
Housing.
announcement about that, or going to have it, right?
2.85%.
Listen, did you hear that, folks?
30-year rate.
2.85.
First time home buyer,
Free.
2.85, 30 years.
It's
Lowest you can
amazing.
get. Lowest
It's
you can get.
amazing.
Okay.
Great. So compared to your interest rates, everything else is shabby. But what do they look like?
Well, they look pretty good. Let's talk about it then. What a segue there, Greg.
There
That
you
was
go.
Nice.
Isn't that good?
Nice job.
I'm a pro.
Beauty. All right. Okay, as always, we look at the Freddie Mac weekly survey, which is actually kind of slow because they're at like Monday,
Right.
and now it's Thursday. But it's for the week ended today. The 30-year fixed rate mortgage averaged 3.61%.
Wow.
That's down from last week when it averaged 3.66, and that is, I'd say that's probably about where it's at today.
Yep.
Some lenders, you could, if you got great credit score, et cetera, you could probably get a 3.5 or even lower on a 30-year conventional. Our conventional rate at Housing Finance Agency is 3.25, I believe, something like that. It's down there. The 15-year averaged 2.86%. That is down from last week when it averaged 2.89. And rates are actually lower than they were a year ago. So if this isn't a good time to buy,
I don't know when is.
based on interest rates, it's pretty darn close to the best time to buy.
Yeah,
if it's
I got
not.
a stack of information here that will back that up.
And now our friend at MBS Highway, Bear Habib,
Good old Barry.
he is recommending locking today. Tomorrow comes out a jobs report. And I think they're a little bit concerned that the jobs report might be pretty good or average, but he's recommending locking. And because the 4-week moving average is actually up with the jobs, in the past, so they're expecting a pretty decent report tomorrow. And so he's just saying, hey, these rates are so good. Just if you're in a spot to lock.
Okay.
They are looking at market expectations, 200,000 new jobs at 4.9% unemployment rate, which you can argue what that actually means. But anyway, so they're just, Barry's just saying, hey, lock. It's as simple as you can get. So, all right. Did you know May is Older Americans Month?
May is old. Well, good for me.
Well, yeah, I don't know what that means.
How older do you have to be?
It doesn't say here. This is from our friend Rob Chrisman from his mortgage blog today. Rob's been to North Dakota. He's a friend of ours. But anyway, May is Older Americans Month. He doesn't say what that means. If it's like 55, if it's 60, 62, 65, I don't know. But anyway,
So far, I qualify in all.
But anyway, here we go. Underwriters probably know that about 21% of the labor force is comprised of men 65 and older. So maybe we're saying 65 and older.
Okay.
And only 13.5% of the women in the same age range comprise the labor force. 79% of older Americans own their homes as of the fourth quarter of 2015. That's not surprising. Now, the moment you all didn't know that you were waiting for. Okay. There are roughly 53,000 Americans aged 100 and older.
Really?
And for every 100 centenarian women, how many men do you think there are over 100?
For every 100
Centenarian.
centenarians.
I got to get that word
women.
right.
There's a joke here.
There probably is.
There is.
But
I
per
would
100-year-old women or older, how many men are there?
Let's say 5.
5. Jim, what do you think?
I'll just to be weird, I'm going to say 7.
Okay, 21.
Really?
You guys,
that high.
you think
I'll be darned.
you think women are killing us off? Apparently, at a young age, below 100.
Well, the old joke is
What?
It's because they want to.
It's because they want to. There we go. Okay, all right. So what else what do you got?
Well, happy Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo.
Yay.
Okay, I have a joke for that.
Do you?
Yeah, but I'll tell it afterwards.
All right.
You go ahead.
Well, just here is Cinco de Mayo. I have no Hispanic blood in me, but I will be happy to share a margarita with whoever that is celebrating
Works
it.
for me.
Okay, that works.
So there we go.
Okay.
And yesterday, of course,
May the 4th.
Star Wars Day.
Okay.
May the 4th
For all
be
the
with
nerds
you.
who talk with a lisp.
There you go.
Happy Star Wars.
I'm a
May
Star
the
Wars
4th be
fan.
with
I didn't get that yesterday. I mean, I
okay.
love Star Wars, but I did not get that yesterday. Till
I've always been more of a
Jim, you
Trek
enlightened me
fan.
today.
I've always been more of a Trekkie, than a
Trekkie?
Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm not
like
a hardcore Trekkie. I'm not a nut about it.
No, I like
but
that.
of the two, I've always kind of leaned more toward Trek. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So-
So tomorrow, big day. Captain America: Civil
Yep.
War is coming.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Right.
That's a big one.
Did you know the comic book industry is seriously off this year? They're having problems,
Because they were making movies
Yeah,
about
you
them
just
all.
have to go to the movies.
All you
Yeah,
had to do is go to the
buy a
movie.
comic.
and most of them suck. Well, they do.
The comic books or the
The-
movies or both?
Well, the movies.
I like the
I love comic books.
the Captain America movies have been pretty good,
Yeah.
and Iron Man 1 and 2 are pretty good. I think
Well, Marvel generally
Marvel's not
has
bad.
done a better job. I mean, they've had a few clunkers too, but
DC,
Marvel
yeah.
generally has done a much better job in terms of consistency, consistently good product with the movies
Yeah.
than has DC. I mean, people are still shaking their heads over the Superman Batman thing.
I didn't get that. Why did those guys fight? That just
Well, you know, when we
seems
were
so
kids,
weird.
the old joke was if Superman and Batman got into a fight, who would win? And supposedly this was going to resolve the issue one way or another.
It didn't. I didn't go to the
No.
movie, so
I
don't
didn't
know.
either.
Yeah.
Well, I miss Christopher Reeve. To me, he was Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
Right.
me, there's
That's
some pretty
the first
big
one we
super
saw the
booties
movie.
to
Yeah.
fill.
They should have. Yes.
Do you know what I never
Super
understood about
booties. I like
Superman?
that.
Remember, I think it was Superman 2 when Lois Lane died and he spun the Earth backwards.
Yeah.
If you can spin the Earth backwards, you can do anything. So why couldn't
Right.
he just I do whatever he had to? Because you're spinning the Earth backwards. You could do anything, and yet stuff still happened.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, okay, Cinco de Mayo joke.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Most people don't know that in 1912, Hellmann's mayonnaise was manufactured in England. In fact, the Titanic was carrying 12,000 jars of the condiment scheduled for delivery in Veracruz, Mexico, which was to have been the next port of call for the great ship after its stop in New York.
Right?
Okay. That would have been the largest single shipment of mayonnaise ever delivered to Mexico. But as we know, the great ship did not make it to New York. The ship hit an iceberg, and Greg already knows where I'm going with this. Hit an iceberg and sank, and the cargo was lost forever. The people of Mexico, who were crazy about mayonnaise and were eagerly awaiting its delivery, were disconsolate at the loss.
I
Their
see this
anguish
one
was so great that they declared a national day of mourning, which they still observe to this day. The National Day of Mourning occurs each year on May 5th and is known, of course, as Cinco de Mayo.
Ay, 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 ay.
And to
Aye,
all
aye, aye.
my Spanish and Mexican friends out there, please accept my humble apology.
All right. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Are
By the
we-
way, it
do
is
we- do we
not.
st-
It is not Independence Day in Mexico.
Okay.
Well, you know, it's a commemoration of a major battle. I think against. I have to look it up. It was the Battle of the Puebla,
Okay.
which would determine, I think, whether Spain or France would, be the dominant culture in Mexico. I'll look
Okay.
it up.
Okay. All right.
But it's not Independence Day.
We didn't go out on that joke. I didn't time that very well.
We got time left.
Oh,
boy. Shoot.
All right.
Oh, that's
Okay.
right. I gotta play the music.
Okay. Well, are we done?
Yeah.
Oh, we're done. Okay. Well, it is break time then.
Happy Cinco de
Well,
Mayo.
happy Cinco de Mayo.
Santana.
Right now, 73.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
And we are coming back with Carlos Santana. on
Europa.
Instrumental Europa.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Happy Cinco de Mayo. When we left, Jim was
Not
going to
Mexican
research.
Independence Day. That's in September the 16th. Cinco de Mayo, it was the first Battle of the Puebla, where they repelled the invading forces of the French Empire, 1862. Now, France did eventually bounce back, and there was a second battle, which France won. And for a while, Mexican had a leader. The guy in charge of Mexico was a guy who was installed by the French Empire, Napoleon III.
Ah.
So for a while, so it's interesting because it's not Independence Day, and it celebrates a victory.
We beat the
which,
French Day.
celebrates a victory, which eventually they kind of lost the whole cause anyway, for a while anyway. But anyway, it's not a federal holiday in Mexico.
Really?
So is this another American invention for a party
Yeah, it's
day?
pretty much it's pretty much another St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, Corona. Corona did this.
It's
didn't
an
they?
excuse to have a party, is what it is. It's like Halloween. I mean, what significance does Halloween have?
We'll take the party.
It's an excuse to have a party.
Right.
It's Corona and the tequila makers.
I think so.
What's more American than that?
Yeah.
Hornitos?
There you go.
Salsa hornitos.
Yeah.
All right.
favorite.
Well, let's talk.
All right,
Talk
let's-
like real estate and mortgages.
Okay.
So, Greg, what do you got?
Well, I just want to tell you before we get into the local stuff, we just got a report. It's going to be formal, big report. As you know, next week is the National Association of Realtors meetings in Washington, D.C., and we're going to get all kinds of prognostications. Here's a little taste.
Are you going to prognosticate?
I will.
anything?
I will be listening to the prog. I will try. I will be trying to understand what they're saying.
Okay, so then you can come back and prognosticate to us.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair
Right.
enough.
So just to give you an idea what the size of the real estate industry is, I'm talking the month of March, the most recent
Just
statistics. March.
All by its
31
itself.
days
31
of
days.
March
Okay.
in 2016.
In the entire United States of America.
Throughout the United States of America, 5
The
point.
50 states plus Puerto Rico then?
I don't know.
Okay. I'll
Puerto
just
Rico,
throw
which
you a
is in the
loop here.
can.
Well,
financially.
yes, it would be Puerto Rico because it does include the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Oh, there you go.
And
So
territories,
it would
right?
include USA and territories.
Okay.
Guam,
and that
American
probably
Samoa.
really affects these numbers.
Yeah, well, probably huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in March, 31 days
Okay.
in existing homes sold.
I
Take a
can't read
wild.
I can't read your writing.
Take a wild guess. How many homes do you think sold?
One.
This is
Two.
existing homes, not new homes.
Oh, okay.
Just existing.
Existing homes. I don't even know what's a normal
I'll
figure.
say 1 million.
A million,
I'll say 1.5 million.
5.33 million homes.
Oh,
Boy,
okay.
We are no good at guessing today, are
No,
we?
All right.
terrible.
No.
And housing starts.
Okay, so these would be new homes
New
being
homes
built.
being started.
Okay. I'll say 1 million.
You're good. 1,089,000.
Okay, I was going to say under 1 million, but
Okay.
that'll work.
New
That one I
home
probably
sales. New home
Oh.
sales, not existing homes. New home sales.
700,000.
That's actually
I'll-
strong.
I'll say, oh, it's strong.
Yeah,
So, okay, I'll say 500,000.
you're good.
Well,
good.
you're giving him hints over
yeah.
here.
Well, normally we
Yeah,
carry
you're
a-
handicapping
Don't get
me
too
here.
proud. Oh, you're being
here's the
handicapped.
deal.
Okay.
You know, it's like
Fair
getting
enough.
a tip at the
Fair
at the
enough.
racetrack.
We carry about a 2-month inventory of new homes throughout the United States, so it stands to reason if we start 1 million, we sell a half of that.
2 months is the average?
Just keep the
Okay.
2 months, yeah.
Boy, that's good
Okay.
math there, Greg. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. So the average home sale in the United States, new and existing, is $222,700.
Okay.
Okay.
If you multiply all that stuff, if you would care to, that means in the months of March, the economic impact of home sales in the United States and contiguous territories is $1,392,432,400,000.
Trillion is 12 zeros. One with 12 zeros.
That's right.
Gotcha.
So $1.3 trillion in home sales in 1 month. That's the size of the industry. And remember how many times that dollar rolls?
Oh, gosh. We talked about that
Yeah,
like 3 times?
like 5 times.
5 times, yeah.
So
okay.
we're talking 5 times $1.3 trillion each month
So,
in real estate.
7.
Yeah.
That's a few
Okay,
shekels.
and that's March.
That's March.
Okay, so is March a huge month, slow month?
It's the first month in the second quarter, and that's generally an uptick month.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
now,
yeah.
do we have a figure, or can we get a figure on adjusting it for inflation and comparing it with, say, 20, 30 years ago?
we can do that. We can go with units sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't have that with me. I can tell you that this is up 1.4% from last year.
Okay.
Okay. So
I remember when
And
Reagan
it's-
got in.
Yep.
I was old enough to, be able to follow what was going on. Well, I was already working. I was 25 years old. I wasn't a spring chicken then or now. But when Reagan got in, they were talking about a $1 trillion budget for the defense, and people were going, "Whoa, $1 trillion!"
Right.
And now $1 trillion for just the one industry.
In one month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an amazing number. Now, we talked about pending sales before, and that's the indicator that economists use to track houses because it's sold but not closed, so it's a finite figure.
Sure.
Okay, in March, they were up 1.4%, on track to be up about 5.3% for the year. So that'll give you an idea of the March size. And the Northeast region is really moving. They're up like 25%.
Okay, so Northeast would be Boston, New York.
Yeah. New England
Connecticut,
states,
New England,
half the seaboard.
Oh, yeah, so like down to Maryland.
Like down into Maryland.
Maryland,
DC.
Delaware, New Jersey,
Right, you got it.
Virginia.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And the reason their sales are up so high is because their median price is low. People are making money and they can afford the houses.
Yeah.
Outside of New York City.
Outside of New York City.
Yeah.
And in Midwest, we're up. We're up about 12%, which is
my
good.
goodness.
We still have
Yeah.
the best income to
Affordability.
ratio.
Yeah.
What about California? Do we have any
They
figures on
suck.
that? Do they?
Yeah.
You can't afford to buy anything.
The South is steady, and the West is well down, way down in sales, in pending sales.
The ones I wonder about, of course, the bellwethers are supposedly California and Texas.
Yeah.
California, from what I hear, things are better than they were, but it's still not great.
Yeah, here's the thing. People have income and they're buying houses, so the median price of housing has gone up 40% over the last 24 months.
Whoa,
24 months.
that's a hike.
That's a hike, and that's why the pending sales are way down because people can't afford it.
Yeah,
And that's up from a high number already.
Up from a high number already.
Yeah.
I wonder how Florida's doing.
Florida is pretty stable. They are recovering.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at Florida specifically, but I did look specifically at a couple of Florida markets in southwest Florida, the Fort Myers area and the Tampa Bay area, just out of
Nice
curiosity.
area, yeah.
And both
Or
of
it was.
those, they have not gotten back to their pre-2006 numbers or in numbers of sales.
Yeah.
But they're approaching it, so they're coming back.
They were hit big with they built up condos. So
They were,
bad.
Yeah.
That's what really killed them.
Well,
They
they were
still
boom,
have-
boom, boom for so long.
they
They
still
had
have-
to.
yeah.
We always figure when they busted, they would bust hard.
Yeah, they still have vacant condos.
Still
Yeah.
a very popular place
And
people can
unfinished
move
places.
to
Yes.
retire.
Yeah,
So,
it's still a good
Yeah.
buy down there. Won't happen for long,
yeah.
but it's still
you
there
know,
now.
California. Speaking of that, I read something this week about California, and this is a whole thing on property taxes too. But in California, they have Proposition 13.
Yes.
Howard
And, you know,
Jarvis,
so
sure.
Your taxes are kind of set at what you buy it at.
Yeah.
And it can only go up so much per year based on assessment.
Yeah, and I think it's
2%.
2 or 3%.
I saw two, I think, but and they talk about how people they stay in their properties longer in California, and what a lot of people are doing now is they're just fixing their properties up.
Yeah, they can't afford to move.
Which is great for the home remodeling industry,
Yeah,
obviously.
Sure.
But you know, that's the thing about property taxes. If you do something like what California did, you freeze them, it creates different problems
Creates a whole bunch of different problems.
because people are not going to want to move
Yep.
and they don't want to buy either because now that home went up. I'm comparing it to the neighbor who just sold, and now this home, instead of being taxed at $500,000, it's now worth $1 million. That's a much more expensive home than
You
it
bet.
is for the current homeowners.
Yep.
That's a big deal. So,
Time Magazine had a big article on Jerry Brown about a week ago. I just happened to catch it, and I read it over at Barnes & Noble. And Jerry's getting a lot of heat right now because they're saying he's too conservative on fiscal issues.
yeah, too conservative.
Jerry's become the fiscal conservative.
Because Jerry has no money to spend.
That's right. It's easy not to spend it if you don't have it.
So
So
you really have to be careful.
as we go to the
California,
break, Jim, what was the number one hit in 1977 today?
1977, early summer. I'm going to say Andy Gibb. I just want to be your everything.
Oh boy.
Peaches and Herb reunited.
Oh,
Feels
yeah.
so
That's a good one.
Oh boy. Well, let's go with Santana. I like that
Santana.
much better
Everybody's
than Peaches and
everything.
Herb.
Let's all do the karate dance to
There
this
you
one.
go.
All right.
Everybody's waiting for a new chance to come around.
Right now, 73.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on Super Talk 1270.
And welcome back to Dakota Housing Network. This is another Santana.
Featuring not Carlos, but his brother, Jorge Santana. He had a group called Malo. And this was their big hit, a song called Suavecito. Spring, early summer. Why are you looking at me?
Suavecito.
That's what I said,
Sounds good.
Suavecito.
It just sounds good saying that.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like something you drink, not sangria.
Yeah.
But anyway, Suavecito, big hit in the spring, early summer of 1972. That's a big song with the lowriders out in California.
Okay.
I can see that.
Now on this day, Greg.
Yes.
Okay. In 1904, a 37-year-old pitcher for the Boston Americans added yet one more star to an amazing career. He retired all 27 of the Philadelphia Athletics in a row, thus pitching the first perfect game in Major League history.
What year was that?
1904.
Okay, keep
So
going.
that would, that first perfect game ever, that would be, enough to earn a memory for a lifetime. But of course, this guy was a Hall of Famer.
You want us to guess who it was?
In his career, you'll get this right away.
All right.
In his career, he won over 510 games and pitched in nearly 900. And of course, he became the first Hall of Fame induction. He was in. Okay, his mom called him by his given name, Denton True Young, but his teammates, fans, and sports writers gave him a nickname based on his high, hard right-hand delivery. And as one bewildered batter muttered, it came down like a cyclone. So Denton True Young became Cyclone Young, at least for a week or two, and then he became Cy Young, and you have
Cy
the legend
Young.
of Cy Young.
And there you have it.
So that happened.
That happened today.
1904.
This day in baseball history.
1904. You do
Now-
that much better than I do, Jim. Okay.
How about give me little-known World War II facts?
Little known facts of World War II.
I quit.
Okay.
On this day in 1945, 6 people were killed by a Japanese bomb in Lakeview, Oregon.
Oh, goodness.
Never heard of that one,
get
had you?
there?
Well, I know for a fact all during the war they were concerned about the Japanese patrolling up and down along
Yeah.
the West Coast. Because they always figured if there was an invasion, that's what they would do. They would try to hit the West Coast first.
Yeah, well, what happened was there were Japanese subs that would patrol off
Yeah.
the coast, and they would release balloons with a bomb attached.
Oh.
And
That's
the-
rather ingenious,
the
actually, in a
intent was
diabolical kind of way.
When the balloon burst, the bomb would drop.
Yeah,
Okay. It was a colossal failure.
yeah.
But one bomb dropped into the woods outside of Lakeview, Oregon, and did not go off. And a mother and her 5 children found it.
Oh,
and they were
God.
pulling it out of the woods to
Oh.
show people what it was, and it went off.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's
My dad was in World War II. He was stationed in Bremerton for a while,
Was
right
he?
outside of Seattle. He was on the Ticonderoga.
Hmm.
And he caught, he was in the Pacific Theater for much of the latter half of the war.
My dad was in World War II almost.
Almost. Okay.
He got his wings, and he was a fighter pilot, and they were taking their planes, and they were going to Europe, and they got as far as I just drew a blank on the island in Canada that they used to hop to Greenland and to
Right. I know what you're talking
New
about.
Brunswick.
New Brunswick.
Got to New Brunswick, and they said, fly your plane back to New York and take the bus home. You're done.
All right.
My dad was
That's as far as he went.
My dad was in Europe, so he went through France and stuff, and then he was actually on a boat heading to the Pacific when the bombs dropped. And it
Yeah,
turned
because they
all
were going to
around.
have they were getting ready for the big invasion.
Spin this truck around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with my dad, I remember he said after the bomb dropped and the war ended, the announcement came on. Now hear this: we have signed a temporary treaty with Japan pending the negotiations for the surrender. We are technically at a truce, so if you see any Japanese Zeros in the area, you are to shoot them down in a friendly manner.
Shoot them down in a friendly manner. Okay.
They shouldn't be flying around, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Speaking of the military, here is a first.
Here we go. Good segue again, Greg.
There you go.
Okay.
This is a really interesting report. It's a study done by the National Association of Realtors, but this is the first time they've ever found this. Millennials that are active service military members are outpacing their civilian peers when it comes to home buying, according to this 2016 study. Veterans and active military home buyers and sellers profile.
It's interesting. Do you think that's related to they want, if they're serving somewhere, they want to have their family, if they're overseas serving, they want their wife and their kids to have a house?
I think so. I think part of it, there's a lot more permanent stationing now than there used to be.
Okay.
Let me see. They found that the typical active service buyer was a lot younger than non-military buyers, 34 years old versus 40, and was more likely to be married and have multiple children living in the household. 18% of all the home buyers identified as veterans and 3% as active military, while 21% of the sellers identified as veterans and 1% as active military. So active service buyers bought homes at a far greater rate, 51%, than non-military buyers, 34%. And we've talked about him before. Lawrence Yun, chief NAR economist, credited Veterans Affairs loans
Oh, sure. Yeah.
as the reason.
Okay. That's a good deal.
That's a great program. If you're a vet, you want to look into it. It's 100% financing, very little. So there's really nothing down. It's a great loan. It performs well. It's created, according to them, a non-level playing field. Despite having a lower median income, more stable job security, and no down payment financing options give aspiring homeowners in the military a deserving advantage over their civilian peers. Furthermore, their tendency to marry and raise a family at an earlier age and carry less student debt make buying a home a more desirable and achievable option.
Okay.
Current information shows that VA loans perform remarkably well and are safe and affordable choice, and their current seriously delinquent homes in foreclosure rate is 2.78 versus a 3.44% for the non-VA loans.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I mean, I think, we're servicing a loan, and if it's a VA loan, we need to contact the VA, and they will contact the service member themselves,
Right.
the borrower, and see what's going on. So the VA itself gets involved and talks with the borrower and say, what's going on, what can we do to help, etc.
Yeah.
So it is a good program.
Yeah, the VA it is one program that the government has that performs well.
Yeah, it does fine.
They do a good job at it, and they constantly are looking at ways to improve it.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah, and they underwrite things a little bit differently.
yep,
They look at
More than just credit.
residual income. What have you got left afterwards
yeah,
when you underwrite that? So it's really, it actually has some merit to doing that, because that shows you how much you have left at the end of the month after you're buying this house.
yeah.
All your other stuff, this is what you got left at the end of the month. And so they take a look at that, and that's actually not a bad way to do it, and people should do that personally themselves.
Yep.
What do I
Yeah,
have left after I
yeah.
make this payment?
And my experience as a realtor is that their underwriting is, I don't want to say forgiving, but they will take things into account.
Yeah.
For instance, I've got some folks that are buying some rural property on a VA loan, and most financial, unless you're buying a farm, it's an ag loan, you're limited to 40 acres.
Mm-hmm.
They won't loan for over 40
Yeah,
acres.
secondary market won't
Yeah.
be on 40.
VA will.
Yeah.
They'll make an exception for that. So, it's a great program.
All right. Okay. What's next?
Talking economy.
Oh, boy.
Economy. I have a report here from 4 top economists. Wow, already.
And that's supposed
I got to rush through this.
be information?
Yeah,
the economists?
it's their best guesses what happens in
Okay.
real estate if we go to a 15-hour minimum wage.
Ooh, okay. That is
right.
interesting, because that's could happen.
Yeah, we can
In
carry
certain
this.
states.
We can carry this into the next
Yep.
segment. But basically, three of the 4 say that the big impact is going to be on commercial real estate property. That
Really?
yeah, because folks will not need as much property. They will not be able to afford new property because they will lose profit because they will put more money into labor costs until they adjust their labor costs by automation, part-time workers, And
Okay. So McDonald's has got to pay $15. We're not going to open that new store
yeah, we're going to put a robot. You go in there and hit the tablet. and
till
tell
we
the
get this
tablet
all
what you
set
want.
up where
Right.
we can have 2 less
Yep.
people working in the store.
Yeah.
Then we'll go on.
Yeah, here's an interesting number. For a typical 500 employee operation, a $1 increase in average hourly wage raises its annual labor percent by over labor cost by over $1 million. That's the equivalent to $2 a square foot increase in rent for 500,000 square foot building. That's a 37% markup to the average U.S. industrial rent.
This is it's an interesting dilemma.
Yep.
You understand why somebody that's in a job like that just to pay rent, very difficult because rent costs have gone up. So you understand why I want to get paid $15 an hour so I can afford my rent.
But your rent's going up.
But your rent's going to go up because of this, and and I might be out of a job down the road because they're going to try and audit me.
That's right. And we will be back in a short break. Ooh, I love this song. Which is this one?
Oye, como va?
Oh, yeah, come over. Oh,
Right now, it's 77.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Super Talk 1270.
wow. Great music.
You got that kind of Perry White voice, Jim, in you? The Game of Love.
Perry White.
No,
He was Great Caesar's Ghost. That was Perry White.
Who's the big sexy guy that always sang in a really
Barry
low voice?
Barry White.
Barry White. Perry White.
I thought
What
it said
was it?
Perry White.
You got a Barry White voice in you?
Right on, baby.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, yeah,
okay. All right. Okay.
I've
Our
got
friend
a Pee Wee
Elliot.
Herman voice.
You got
No, I don't. Go ahead.
okay. Well, you don't?
No.
Because I would like to hear that.
No, you can't. 'Cause
Okay.
I don't.
All right. Oh yeah, from our friend Elliot Eisenberg, the Friday File, as he likes to call it, from his blog last week. I thought this was interesting. If you really want to torture yourself, okay, with more efficient planes and low fuel costs, the ultra long flights are in. The longest airline flight in the world, is 8,810 miles. It takes 17 hours and 20 minutes and is from Auckland, Australia to Dubai.
Wow.
I don't want to get on that flight.
How many hours?
17 hours and 20 minutes. That plane can fly without stopping. Okay? The next longest is 8,569 miles from Dallas to Sydney, Australia, and it takes 16 hours and 50 minutes, followed by Atlanta to Johannesburg at 8,433 miles and 15 hours and 21 minutes. And Elliot says, OMG.
Yeah.
That's a long flight.
My wife flew from Seattle to Beijing, China. And that was 15 hours.
No, I did Minneapolis to Tokyo.
That'll do her.
And then the whole day was Bismarck to Minneapolis to Tokyo to Beijing. That was a long day.
Yeah.
I would have to take a sleeping pill. I don't think I could handle that long a flight.
I don't think it took as long, but it was a lot longer flight on this day in 1961 from Cape Canaveral. Alan Shepard was the first American into space.
Yeah.
On
Okay,
the Freedom
there we go.
7 space capsule.
All right.
Whole
Okay.
flight took 15 minutes.
Right.
Bam! Compared to 17
18
hours.
or 19,000 miles up.
Yeah, basically he went up and came
Yeah,
down
that's
again.
right.
And these guys only went, how far did they go?
Bunch
Suborbital.
of sissies.
Dubai?
Yeah.
No, I don't have it anymore. It's like 8,000 miles.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay,
we
so
were,
let's
we
hire
were
these
talking
economists.
about these economists and probably
Commercial real estate goes up if minimum wage goes up.
yeah,
They
and
use less commercial real estate.
right.
Okay.
And cost goes up, and it pushes folks to use more automation for labor savings costs. And the summary of this whole thing is the cost of running warehouses, retail operations, hotels, and restaurants is going to go up. Typically, these businesses do not have the market power to pass on the cost of the customers in the short run. So we're talking like, if you're GM and you get a minimum wage, cost of a car goes up.
Yeah.
You know,
Everybody says,
if-
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're American Airlines, speaking of flying, cost goes up, your ticket goes up.
Yeah, okay. I got to get there. I'm
Small
gonna pay for
business doesn't have the market power to do that in the short run.
it. Well, yeah, let's think about it. You're on, I'm flying to Beijing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I got to go.
Yeah.
or I'm flying to Washington D.C. I got to go, so that cost me $10 more this time than last time. Well, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
In the car, cost me $100 more a month, or okay, I guess I'll deal with that. But if I'm comparing staying in a motel,
Yep.
and this company just went up, they're more expensive than the next one. I'm going to this one down
That's
here.
what's
that's cheaper.
and that's what it's saying. Yeah,
you go
cash
to a
flow
retail
for-
store.
Cash
You're
flow
gonna
for
shop.
small businesses will be affected. And then the other thing that we talked about is I'm playing with my paper here, so you have to forgive me, folks. We will be much more, the retailers will be much more, what's the word here? I can't find it. But anyway,
Okay.
what he's saying is that retailers will be much more, and I'll say brutal in how they use unnecessary employees, non-essential employees.
Yep.
In other words, instead of hiring, moving part-time people to full-time for seasonal work.
Okay. So I'm at Mr. Department Store.
Yep.
And it's Christmas. Thanks. Roughly November, I'm going to start hiring
Right.
some people
And
to
you've
prepare
got some
for.
part-time people, you put them up to full-time, and you hire more part-time people.
Yep.
And
Okay, so
Well,
now
hire
Christmas
'em and
is
fire
done.
'em.
Christmas is done. I probably got some returns coming in, so I'm going to keep
Yep.
people around for that. It's going to be a little busy after Christmas and in January, and
Yep.
then I'll see. We hope we can get you back next year.
Yeah, and there will be fewer full-time employees, more part-time employees, and it will be as soon as we don't need you, you're gone.
Yeah, it's
Because that's
basically
what they need to do to stay in business.
it's like it becomes a supply chain management almost. I don't need you now. I'm not going to buy you today. I'm going to buy you later.
Yep.
Is what it comes down to. That's really what it is.
So what all these guys are saying is, in real estate, like in everything else, we have a minimum wage. Yes, it's good for the people who need the minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
They get it. But the long-term effect is their jobs are less secure.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we just touched on it.
Costs essentially will catch up.
Before the break. You understand why people want to get paid more, because it costs more to rent places.
Yep.
And if I'm on a minimum wage, or I got two part-time jobs that are paying minimum wage, so I can pay my rent, and I probably have to get a roommate, etc., or two roommates, whatever it might be. You understand the reasoning behind that increase. I want to get paid a higher minimum
Yeah, I
wage.
get it. I mean, the argument is a two-headed deal.
Yeah, you gotta, because the cost of housing is going up because we have a shortage in many
Yep.
areas of rental. And, if you want to buy a home, it's the same problem in some places. And, so, but if you raise that, we just heard that has the consequences of the companies who have a responsibility to shareholders also.
Right.
Have to look at the bottom line, and they're going to do things that are going to cut back on their higher costs.
Yep.
They're going to look for where can we cut to keep our returns to our shareholders, and labor is a big deal. So
Yep. So I don't pick a dog in this fight, but that's what the economists are saying is going to be the upshot.
we have to be careful about what we wish for sometimes.
Yeah.
No, what's the solution? It's probably do more things to create more availability of housing that's affordable.
Yep.
Is certainly
Other than rented
Important.
housing. Yeah.
yeah. That's one solution, and how do you do that though? That becomes the other problem.
And it's tough, but the best way to build wealth is to own a home,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
rent.
Yeah.
And so all those things fall in. We need to talk about some neat stuff in flood insurance.
Okay, we'll talk flood insurance then.
How's that for a bad segue?
Yeah, that one didn't work as good.
Not
as
a
the
good,
other two.
yeah, right.
Your other two were right on.
Yeah.
yeah.
Jim's shaking his head saying, you two talk real estate.
Big deal. In Washington this week, the House passed the flood insurance bill.
Yes, they did.
Now, right now, you have the National Flood Insurance Program, which is run through the government, okay, the feds, and that's kind of the ball game that's in town.
Right.
That's affordable for everybody. There are some private companies that will do flood insurance, but the government, the Fed, in Congress, they want to encourage more private insurance. But what this bill is doing, if I understand it right, is if you switch to a private insurance for flood insurance, Before, if you had it through the National Flood Insurance Program. Now I switched to a private insurer because it was cheaper. But now, okay, that's going to go away. That company's not going to cover me anymore. So I got to go back to the National Flood Insurance Program. Your rates would go up because you came back in and there was
They
a
would go
gap in
way up
coverage.
because
There was
of the
a
grandfather
gap.
clause.
There was
Yeah.
a grandfather clause that was put in place by former acts dealing with the flood insurance
Right.
program. So your costs would go way up. Now, what this bill is going to do is, if you were in the NFIP program, you switched to private, and the private no longer worked out for you, and you went back, they didn't consider that a gap in coverage, so you
Right.
could get back into
So
the
get back into
grandfather
your
grade,
grandfather.
and then your increases would be more gradual as
Yeah.
it goes up. So it is a big deal, and that needed to be fixed from the Bigger Waters Act of 2012, I believe. Yeah.
And interestingly, real quickly, everybody voted for it. There was not a negative
So
vote.
it's now to the Senate.
It's over to
It's
the
up
Senate.
to the Senate to do it, and then it would be up to President Obama to sign it.
Correct.
And hopefully, we'd like to see this done before the election, before they skedaddle.
We sure do.
We sure do.
Okay, well, that's it for today. Thank you for listening.
We'll be back
Dave?
next week, I think.
I won't. I'll be in Washington.
Oh yeah,
being
that's
smart.
right. You should call in and tell us what's going on.
If I can, I will. It's
Yeah.
Hill visits, so we'll see.
Cool. All right, folks. We'll be back next week.